Welcome to the December 5th, 2023 Madison County School Board meeting. It is now 6 o'clock. This meeting is officially called to order. Will you please stand for a moment of silence and for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This afternoon, we'll have a presentation by the Madison County High School.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pretty sure, as you know right now, our school plan is just a working document. And we basically look at those things that we have designed, that we've seen in our data that will help us move forward to being a high-performing school. So as I'll give you a snapshot of where we are. We collected some data samples, just to reiterate. Number one is our attendance, because if they're not there, we can't educate them. Number one is our positions, and then we look at our attendance for our students. If they're not there, they're not learning. So first one, and I'll be remiss if I didn't introduce my team. I can come up here and give you every data point here, and you'll see my face all the time. But I've been accustomed to doing things. If I'm not fulfilling the needs of my staff and putting them in front of you so they can do those things that I do, then I'm not a good principal. So behind me, just a little part of my administrative team, my assistant principal, Amanda Hurst, and then I have my MTSS, basically assistant to Ms. Jada Williams. So they're going to be giving you some points in these slides also that they're very highly familiar with that'll move us forward. All right. So first of all, we'll talk about our enrollment. It is increased. I want to say about 30 kids. If you look at our ninth grade, it's got about 160, and you see male, female, and then 10th grade 137, 11th grade 104, 12th grade 96. A total of about 497. Vacant positions, I talked to you about that before. High performing schools, train and retain teachers, and they average about 3 to 5 years. That's when your productivity, that's when those teachers actually get into a pedagogy that is positive for our student growth. So we're working to get that way. We still have an English 1 opening. We still have a science opening today. The science opening is anatomy and physiology and environmental science. Right now, they're built mostly of freshman classes. And as I told you before, when we went over our school plan, we partnered with Florida Virtual because we felt as an admin team, and I felt also as a principal, we needed some instruction that came from highly qualified personnel. And we did not want to put long-term service. There were no applicants that were there at that time. None. Nothing to choose from, nothing. So we chose to partner with Florida Virtual in an effort to give them something they can use at the next level if we didn't find one for them. It has been a struggle. With Florida Virtual, some of our young people feel they can, kind of circumvent things and, just basically say cheat. So there's been some, violations that, AI violations. But we continue to support them in that because it is difficult for some people to do online. So it is guided and there are live lessons, and we walk them through that so they can use some of those live attachments so they can walk them through the given lesson. We contact the parents with letters, phone calls with students who are struggling, and we did receive some phone calls from parents with students who are struggling. Or we also provide ESC support for some of the students who, some of our ESC learners that require. We get weekly updates from our Florida virtual teachers on how our kids are doing, percentages passed, percentages done, and actual grades. We do check-ins, myself, and even Ms. Williams, Ms. Hurst, we do check-ins with our classes, whether English 1 or environmental, and we do check-ins with them, tell them, okay, you have this percentage done in this time, and you need to be here this time. So, and they also view weekly reports that are posted in the class.
Is that all English 1 on virtual school?
No, just one, I believe it is.
Oh, I mean, I should say, is it all ninth graders?
Yes.
All ninth graders
Yes.
taking virtual school?
Yes.
That's what I meant to
We
say.
have one ninth grade class that is taught by Dr. Presley,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh-huh.
We were able to put that in her plan, and she wanted to take it under her in her plan. So we got one unit per because the rest were basically 7 class. So we had one.
Okay, and let me ask, how does this affect the FTE, this virtual school?
We do share FTE.
So, Rose, what, you share FTE, you said?
From what I'm saying, we share FTE. 30%.
Depends on completion. Once a child completes a class, then a share of the FTE comes sort of virtual and/or the district, depends on how the contract is.
Okay, okay, but in the meantime, okay, they're on virtual school, but now there's a paraprofessional in the class, right?
We have a
Or somebody.
Yeah, when somebody's in that class, help them all. We have a paraprofessional in environmental science, and we also have a ESC aide in another class. So it's in there. It is not the best situation, but it's the best situation for them.
And then you said ESC support. Now,
Yes.
how are they getting supported?
If they have an extended time, if they need to pull out a session, somebody actually walk them through that to make it easier for them.
You mean-
especially when it's in the English class.
You mean like the paraprofessionals
No,
provide?
yeah, there's an
The
ESC.
ESC person's coming into the class then?
Yes.
Or pull them out, or one or the other?
One or the other.
Okay, so they're getting that.
Like I said, we're going to share in this presentation. Anybody have any questions from me for this particular slide?
Thank you.
Back in there. All
So
right, we'll have Ms. Hershey.
who is getting the weekly updates? Because like I know like Callie takes an FLBS class and typically she gets her updates weekly until the teacher emails me and says, hey, she hasn't logged in in a week. So are they coming to you all and then you're addressing the students?
Yes. They also, from what I understand, also parents are getting that
Notification as well?
Are these students participating in DBAs with the FLVS teachers? Like, for instance, I'm very familiar with FLVS, and they have to do, are they doing face-to-face assessments with these teachers?
They are if they find that there's a deficit.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then- Any more questions? Wow. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So some important dates that we have coming up. Our semester exams are next week, starting next week, Tuesday through Friday. February 15th, we are going to Big Bend Technical College. We are specifically targeting 11th, 12th graders with a 2.5 GPA or higher that specifically, might want to look into a technical field. And they'll be going for a visit. Our career fair is going to be Friday, March 1st. And then our Cowboy Showcase is going to be March 28th. So those are some important dates coming up we wanted to share with you guys. So, like Mr. Brooks said, when we were looking at our data this summer and planning to improve our school for this year, one of the things that stood out with our data was attendance. Not only student attendance, but also teacher attendance. So our student attendance, as you can see, is in the 80s, which the high 80s, but 95 or higher would be our goal. And so we knew obviously there was a need to support our kids in attendance. So one of the things that we came up with was our perfect attendance, our monthly celebrations for students who have perfect attendance, and we have a breakfast. And we, they get to visit and socialize, which we all know they love. And so the first month of school, we had 30 students with perfect attendance, and then the second month of school, 71. So we like that trend, upward trend, and we hope that it continues.
Ms. Hurst, may I back up a little bit?
Yes,
About
ma'am.
your presentation, about your important dates to Cowboy Showcase. I know y'all did one day last month, and we had, and there were some concern about your format. What format was this, or what's gonna be showcased?
So we're gonna have, the CTE teachers and the other teachers be present. Our plan for future is to have the showcase on nights where we can have them, this won't be implemented this year, possibly next year, where it'll be a day where staff can flex their time. Because one of the main things that happened with our showcase was we had very little staff that stayed this last time, because it's a long day for staff to start at 7:30 and stay at the school until 8 o'clock at night. And so that's our plan for future to help with that. We hope to have it on a day where they can flex, and then they don't come in until, say, noon if they're gonna stay till later that day. So,
Okay, I just know it was some, conversation about that, and so I just need to know how you addressed it. Thank
we
you.
do have some things in place
Okay.
to address that. So that was our student attendance. So then our teacher attendance, which also, our data was very low on teacher attendance. And so to address that, we have some things put in place for teachers. So for teachers' perfect attendance for the month, they get visited by the treat cart, and their name also gets put into a drawing for Lunch on Us, where Mr. Brooks and myself cover their classroom and send them with a gift certificate to a local eating establishment where they get to go and have lunch, which, as you know, if you're in education, is a real treat for a teacher. And so the first month we had 15 teachers with perfect attendance, and then the second month of school, 7. So that's not the trend that we want it to go in, so we're looking forward to that going up. So that's our teacher attendance.
That must be a sign of the times. We were never rewarded for coming to do our job.
Well, do you think that was maybe because of the hurricane?
Probably contributed to it.
Yeah.
Also, and this is just me, but we're getting closer to flu season,
Yeah.
and we do have staff with young children
Right.
who are out a lot. So all, life in
Yeah.
general, all of those things, but, just something to reward them when, something positive. So now I'll turn it over to Miss Jada Woods-Williams.
Good evening.
All right, so we're gonna start out with testing. So one of the things that I do, I assist the guidance counselor with testing. The one that I'm responsible for, I usually start our testing in the spring, and then I do the one in the fall. And so, I start in the fall, and I also do the one in the spring. So what my goal is to capture the students that do not have their concordance scores, and so we'll start testing it, so that could be one other chance that will give them an opportunity to get their score they need for graduation. MTS RTI, my main goal is to make sure that our students are excelling academics, behavior, and attendance. So I'm in the background checking with teachers, I'm checking and scouring, looking at grades, calling parents, setting up meetings, scheduling meetings. And so whenever I schedule the meetings, they vary at times. We have some that last as short as 30 minutes. We have others that last as long as an hour. You'd be surprised what our parents want to know. And a lot of things that I find myself doing is educating. And I put resources in front of them to help them with attendance, turning in notes, help them write their notes. When it comes to testing and trying to get these concordant scores, we try to get most of them involved with a fee waiver. And what that does, that'll take care of the cost of the test. Because being in Madison County, resources with finances just not there for us. So we try to get a lot of them to bring us what we need so they can waive the price of that. One of the tests costs $57. Another test costs $61. So what it does, it'll get them opportunity to take SAT twice, it give them opportunity to take ACT twice. And so whenever the parents come in, I encourage them to have those students sit for every test. Okay, we're gonna help you pay for some, but I need you to help. To me, it doesn't matter how, but I need these kids to sit in front of these tests. So I, just educate them and remind them. We call them. Whenever I say we call them, it could be myself calling, it could be Miss Tasha calling, Miss Shona. We just call and just inform them, bring them in. And what I like to do, the best scenario is when I can get the parents in. Also, we'll call the students so they can see, because we want to educate them. These are young adults, this is our future, and I want them to be aware of what we have. And most times they are aware. So, our seniors, we have 119 students on the list. And what that says, whenever she gave the information, we didn't show 119 seniors. But what comes, it goes by their cohort group. They may have started 5 years ago, but this is their cohort, or vice versa. So we have 119 students on the list. When we started school, we was 54. Now we're at 35. One of the main things that stick out to me, we have 7 of the 35. They are in multiple areas. That means they might have problems with the testing, they might have problems with GPA, or it might be additional courses they need on top of what we have scheduled. So, to me, it doesn't matter what our students need. So what I do, I try to educate the parents, and I tell them, okay, we need to go ahead and register on Florida Virtual School. That's not the perfect thing, but a lot of times when you're talking about a parent and their child, they want their child to graduate. So I try to make it as, as open as possible and tell them this is what they can do. But I also be honest with them and tell them it doesn't look good. However, if you'll walk with me through this step, this is what we can do. I call them whenever their grades are going down. Mom, I need you to look on Skyward. Sometimes it's helping them to make sure that they get emails, they get the weekly alerts from Skyward, so they know what their students are having. And I also tell the students to, show your parents what you have. Let's be honest. Sometimes I found them and I go to a class, I found them sleeping. I'm calling, telling their mom. I have my cell phone out, and I'm calling their mom on the spot and telling them what we have. So that's why I give out my number. We also have 7 of them that can qualify for a waiver. However, whenever they qualify for a waiver, we still need some of those 7 to pass the course that go along with the waiver. So, we're still up in the air, but we're hoping that we can get closer to 100% as possible. That's the goal. Oh, I forgot. And then in addition to what we have here, we did add more school day testing. We had an SAT school day where we collect the information from the parents so we can try to get that cost waived so they can take it. So between the time when school started, because I actually started contacting parents like in mid-June, whenever the other group starts, so mid-June to present, they had 15 opportunities to sit in front of a test. And so, as I'm educating the parents, I'm seeing the student on a daily basis. I just like this, you, Jada, I didn't see you in testing today. We need to be testing. We do not need to miss. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm always doing, making sure that we're on top of it. With graduation, that's a big topic for me. Sometimes, like I said, they meet some test scores, they could be having GPA issues, but whatever the issue is, we try to work with the parents, the students, and the families so that we can overcome everything to be a graduate MCHS. Any questions?
I'll tell you, that's a big number to me, 54 in the beginning of senior year. I'm wondering what's happening before the senior year. I mean, these kids didn't just start failing at the end.
Yeah, right.
So there's been problems, I would think, along.
Right. Yes, ma'am, it has. So what I do and what Madison County High School is doing, just say like this school year, we target heavily on seniors, but I also have my juniors. Like whenever I'm testing, I'm making sure my juniors are dosing over with us as well. But there's some things that we can offer our seniors that we can't offer our juniors until that year, their senior year. But now I always, myself as well as guidance, we always encourage parents to go ahead, whenever they start 11th grade, go ahead and start sitting for ACT, SAT. ACT, SAT, we can use it for the concordance score, but we can also start our college process as well.
But are they lacking points to graduate, or what? I mean,
So whenever I said that they're lacking test scores. A lot of our
just the
students have
test scores?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. And so whenever you look at the test data, we have more students that are being successful on SAT compared to the state testing. So a lot of our scores, if you look at most of our students, they're getting them on SAT and not the state assessment. So that's a.
Ms.
yes, ma'am.
Williams, would I be correct if I say you start this process in ninth grade with your students, you let them know what's required of them and get a sheet, and it follows along with them per grade?
Yes,
I
that will
think
be
that's
true.
what she needs to
Well,
know.
oh,
That
no,
it
no.
starts in ninth grade with them. They don't wait until 11th grade.
well, I'm assuming that's gonna work in the perfect world, but you know,
That's
these.
the perfect world. That's what they're actually
Well,
doing.
no, I'm saying, we cannot just depend on the student to do. They're students. In other words, they need the guidance department, they need someone guiding them throughout the whole
The
process.
guidance department and the school start in the ninth grade with them.
Well, that's good to hear.
And let me say it, if you don't mind, the modeling process starts in the ninth grade. We also have a counselor that works with Ms. Yaden, and she does that on, a quarterly basis. She monitors. The biggest thing are the things that you saw in the data points at the beginning. A lot of the students that you see that hit that roadblock are students with attendance issues. And students, we have well-notified parents that this is a problem in ninth grade, and it flips 10th grade. And by the time they make it us, and Ms. Williams can tell you, it becomes a concern in April. That's when it becomes a concern in
To the
April.
parents.
To the parents. And we have walked them through, in my 2 years here, we've walked them through that process, and all of a sudden, now it's that concern now. And we have tried to deal with it on an annual basis and build them toward graduation. That's why a lot of times we'll call the class of our freshman class, junior class, that's 28, 29, 27, 28, and to get them familiar to hearing that. But a lot of it, yes, they're 14, 15-year-old kids, and we have tried to, bring the parent in with us to in that cooperative type of atmosphere. That's why we have a Cowboy Showcase, to showcase what we're doing with them in our classroom.
And that's wonderful. I love
So
your
we group it all
showcases.
together. So, to get you accustomed to seeing your teachers, to get you accustomed to seeing what's going on in the classroom, to get you, our SIT meetings, to get them accustomed to what their student's not doing. I can promise you, if a kid comes every day at Madison, over 90% of the time at Madison County High School, it's very, 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 with our staff, they're difficult to stay in class. It's that the problem of you're just not there.
Yeah, I realize that is a problem, for
And
sure.
from sitting on this board before, the process does start with ninth grade, but the parents only become concerned when they're seniors.
So the days absent for your ninth and 10th grade is almost double your juniors and your seniors. I mean, what do you attribute that to? Like, what are we not doing with these kids that are transitioning into that phase?
Okay, let me just be honest. Okay, so the thing is, parents, they don't realize whenever you're in high school, it go by seat time. So sometimes the students, they're maybe a younger or older sibling is dropping them off. So sometimes they drop them off the tardy bell and they're over 20 minutes late. So if you're over 20 minutes late, you're absent. So we having issues like that. We also have issues whenever the students, they are, and I know you have to go to the doctor, but they'll make doctor appointments sometimes, and they will not follow up with their letter that they need to bring back so they can be excused. So we try to, just tell them everything that they can do. And that's one of the things when we do have the SIT meetings, we talk about that. So, for example, if I'm looking at one student, they'll just say behavior, we'll go ahead and address academics and attendance too, so we can cover all. Because usually if you have a problem with attendance, you have a problem with your academics as well. So we try to make sure we cover all of them.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
The high school. Mr. Brooks and Mrs. Hirsch, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to item number 2, our agenda. Item number 2.1, amendments to the agenda. There are none. There are no amendments to the agenda. Okay, item 2.2, adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second for adoption of the agenda, please?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
It has been properly moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we adopt the agenda. Any discussion? There be none, we'll take the vote, please. All in favor of? Please show your hand. 5. Thank you, Mrs. Bishop. Now we'll go to item number 3, and that's public comment. Item 3.1, comments from the public. And so we do have somebody on the sign-in sheet. Has everybody signed in who needed to sign in or wanted to sign in? Okay. Mrs. Donna Gober. And her subject, school issues.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here this evening, and I do have my husband and my oldest daughter. I think it's important for you guys to know up front, my children don't go to the school system anymore. We decided as a family at the end of last school year, after a multitude of problems within the school, that it was in our children's best interest to take them out of the school system. Most of the problems were brought on, and I'm assuming that everybody up here has read the email that I sent, and I apologize for the length of the email. There was a lot of time and effort and energy put into those emails, because I feel like as a parent who, as parents who we encourage our children to be good students, to go to school, be respectful, do your work, have good characteristics that make you a good person, but to go to school and to consistently be backed into a corner, and to be called a liar and to be told the best that you're doing isn't good enough, not by other students, but by other teachers, by adults in the school system, to the point that my children, they were just getting to the point that it was beginning to kind of beat them down. So we decided as a family that we would move our children to Tallahassee. We did our research and found one of the better schools in Tallahassee to send them to. In reference to the email, I'm not going to defend anything about it. The email that started this caveat, it's somebody else's opinion of my kid, and that matters none to me what other people think of my kids. I spoke to key components of people that know my kid and were at the event, and I trust everything that my son says to be accurate, and again, that's an opinion. But what bothers me the most about this is the parent that sent that email admitted in the email that he didn't know my son. So if he doesn't know my son, then how did he know that my son goes to Childs High School unless he's in with Mr. Ortega and got the information from another teacher? Because when we departed Madison County School System, we didn't talk to anybody. The teachers knew that my kids were leaving. And so I feel like, and I don't mean to put anybody on point, but Mr. Ortega is where the issue lies primarily. I feel that he has had a vendetta against my son. I feel that the way that that email was handled by Mr. Ortega was incredibly unprofessional. And in fact, it runs the risk of ruining my child's education outside of Madison County School Board. And that's not fair to my children. As I said before, my children are good kids. They're A students. They're dual enrolled, on track to graduate with an AA by the time they hit 12th grade. So to have a teacher constantly, it seems at every turn, trying to break down a child, and I've never seen adults try to break the spirit of a child as much as I have the last school year. And I'm listening to Mr. Brooks and Ms. Hurst and Ms. Jada speak, and I'm looking at these numbers, and these numbers to me seem like several years ago. I was here a couple of years ago, and I feel like the numbers were in the 700s, 800s for the high school. I could be wrong in that, but what I do know about those numbers is there are 2 less children in Madison County school system because of the way the adults are acting, not because of the way the children are treated or being treated. And that bothers me. My husband and I both went to Madison County High School. My mother went to Madison County High School, so to have to step away from what you know to pursue education 2 counties away just to make sure your children have good education, that's not good. And I'm listening to the Florida Virtual School. In my opinion, as a parent from this side of the fence, I know that you guys are in a crunch, But that's no joke. I mean, we should not be depending on Florida Virtual School to teach our children. What I feel the problem is the wrong people are in the places teaching these children. I sent an email to Ms. Shirley, Mr. Brooks, and one other person, it's eluding me right now, back in April of this year, addressing the bulk of my concerns. And I know that kids are going to be kids, and we cannot go to bat for every single time something happens with one of our kids, but when there are multiple, and I'm talking about 5, 6, 7 events involving adults picking on, harassing my children, enough is enough. And so when I sent that email back in April, that's a plea. You guys are about to lose 2 stellar students. What do you prepare to do? And I heard nothing back. And so that was a cue to me that it was our time to leave. And like I said before, that it bothers me to have to take that. My children have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They travel 70 miles a day to get to school, another 20 miles to go to TCC, and then 90 miles back home at 7 o'clock at night. But that's what we feel as a family we have to do to make sure our children get a good education. So there are a lot of broken pieces in the school system. And I'm just thinking about the guidance, and I applaud Ms. Jada Williams. She has been 100% helpful to me every single time I've called on her. But just going back to graduation success stories starting in 9th grade, that's exactly where they start. And so now that my children are in 10th and 11th grade at Childs High School, I am seriously concerned, and I'm having conversations with the guidance counselor to say, are you 100% sure my children are on track to graduate with an AA before high school? Because I never had guidance from the guidance counselor, not in 9th grade, because they're not eligible for it in 9th grade. And then in 10th grade, all the help that we got from guidance came from Mary Frances Malden at the college. And I'm not blaming or I'm not upset about that, because again, we've made the right decision to take our children out of the school system. So all my frustrations with the failures in my eyes to Madison County school system are behind me. But if you guys are wondering where the problem is the staffing. You guys have the wrong people in the places. You guys have people in teaching our students, or y'all students, that have criminal backgrounds, but have the gall and gumption to talk about integrity and honesty to my kids. I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think that's the bulk of what I wanted to say. I did want to see if you guys had any questions about my email, and I'm just happy to answer whatever questions you guys have.
So you did say that you sent that email to 3 people. You didn't send it to the board at that particular time.
I sent it to Shirley Joseph, Charles Brooks, and Danny Artiga.
Thank you. That clears up something, because I knew I did not get it in April. So that was just to those 3 people. I'm through.
When I initially sent that email, I waited about a week and a half before we even decided to take our children out of the school system, and I composed an email to all of you. But I decided at that point, if Ms. Joseph if the superintendent of schools didn't think it was important enough, that most likely nobody else would either. And that's the sad part. And I will tell you, I have 11 nieces and nephews going through the school system under my children, and they're victims too. And I know other parents that have had children that have been physically abused by teachers in the school system, have had mental abuse. That's the failure of the school system. There's not enough focus on what's doing right by the children. And I will not stand by, my husband will not stand by and let our children be a statistic up on y'all's board.
Thank you for those concerns and appearing before us tonight. And we listened to you. And of course, you've already taken your children FTEs that has left our school system, monies that left our school system. But the principal and the superintendent, I'm sure you can make an appointment and speak with them again about it if you should change your mind. And I care about those students.
Thank you.
And I'm so sorry that they had to leave. And you say these are honor roll students?
Yes, ma'am. ARL students.
Yes, ma'am. And I care about your feelings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to reiterate what our chair said. The first I heard about this situation was yesterday. That's the first time we've heard a thing about it. Thank you for coming in.
Okay, we're going on to item number 4, consent agenda items. First one, 4.1 minutes. 4.2, fundraisers, Superintendent Joseph. 4.3, inter-district transportation agreement with Lafayette County for homeless students, Travis Jones. 4.4, inter-district foster transportation agreement with Lafayette County, Travis Jones. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Ms. Carroll, second by Mr. Frankie, that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor of it? 5, Ms. Becky. I'm sorry, Frankie.
You're all good.
Item number 5, items for individual consideration. 5.1, personnel changes. Mr. Killingsworth.
Yes, ma'am. This evening, we only have one name that we're bringing before you. That is a resignation of one of our teachers at Greenville Elementary.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the personnel changes.
Second?
It's been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we accept the personnel changes. Any discussion? There be none, we'll take the vote, please. All in favor? 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Killingsworth. Staff travel and field trips. We'll just do it. 5.2, staff travels. Mrs. Joseph.
Okay, we have one person that's requesting, with the staff travel request, that's Miss Iris Wynn. She will be going to a conference in Orlando on the summer food service.
Do we have a motion and a second to that effect, please?
Go ahead.
I move to approve the staff travel.
I'll second it.
It has been properly moved by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the staff travel. Discussion? All in favor of, please show your hands. 5-0, please. Thank you. Ms. Joseph, field trips, please.
Okay, with student field trips, we have the Beta Club requesting to attend their state Beta Club, annual state Beta Club meeting in Orlando beginning January 25th. It will be approximately 15 to 20 students with 3 chaperones.
Okay. Field trips?
I move to approve the field trips.
A second?
It's been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the field trips. All in favor of? 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay, financial report. Mrs. Rayneck. Rayneck.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you can see, starting on the first page for general revenue, Fund 1,000, for this time period that ended on November 30th, so we're a little bit or a week beyond that, but on November 30th, we had 7.2 million in revenue that came in, and this included over $1 million for taxes, but we also had 8.65 million that went out in expenses. So if you can follow how that's going on the year-to-date, you can see that that has taken this fund balance for this month down over $1 million, almost $1.4 million. So that has taken the 15.34% that we had last month down to 11.17. Keeping in mind that every month that comes and goes, we have different levels of revenues coming in. We have pretty consistent levels of expenses, but the revenues are going to vary based on the taxes. And we also had some adjustments in the FEFP where the expected FEFP is down because of the Florida Empowerment Scholarships. So we've adjusted down the revenue to anticipate that pass-through of the Florida Empowerment Scholarships.
I think that you're still very aware that our general fund is going to be impacted by the decisions that have to be made for the FEMA and for the deductibles, so that's there just to note it for you. We do have some we got some additional news on the FEMA. I want to say the proposed costs, future costs, and I believe Ms. Knight is the representative for FISBIT this fiscal year. But the proposed costs for our insurance, whenever FEMA decides what they are going to pay, what they're not going to pay, they are going to come to us and tell us we must insure our buildings at a certain level. If they don't agree that the level we have them insured for is enough, one of the costs of business to keep our eligibility for FEMA will be to raise our insurance deductibles on those buildings. So that's just another thing we have to consider.
Raise coverage.
I'm sorry, raise coverage, yeah. Raise coverage, sorry. On those buildings, if we don't do what FEMA says and raise them to that, then the next FEMA disaster, we are not eligible at all for reimbursement. So it's another cost of the hurricane that's pending. If you're okay with that, then no more questions on that. We'll go to Fund 2000, which is your debt service fund. Pretty much this is the fund where the pari-mutuel dollars are coming in that are currently paying right now the $900,000 that we still owe on Madison County High School for the renovations that were made. So it's looking pretty flat, $261,000 in revenue, $241,000 in expenses. We're getting a little bit of reserve there, but not a lot. Going on to Fund 3000, which is your fixed capital outlay. We have $564,000 approximately in revenues and $483,000 in expenses. So that's looking a little bit better, but this fund is also the fund that we will be having some discussion by February about which share of our capital outlay that we need to pass through. And it's also a potential source of dollars that we might have to dip into to do some preliminary payments on FEMA while we're waiting for the FEMA reimbursements. The next fund is 4100, which is food service. We have $438,000 in revenue, and we have spent about $551,000 in expenditures this year. You see, or this month, so you see that that's a difference of about $112,000. Something we are concerned about in this, just following, if you will look in the encumbered columns for expenses, you will see that we're looking at, even only 4 months into the year, we're looking at being overspent in food service in just employee costs and benefits by over $22,000. We expect that that's going to go up each month, so we're going to have to pay very close attention to this fund. There were a lot of grants that we got last year that we will not be getting this year, so that will impact this fund, so we just have to keep a close eye on it.
What did you say about employees?
I said, if you look at, under the expenditures, that very last column you see that says left, you see there's a negative 89.66 and a negative 14.8. And that's where we are. If we had to pay out what's encumbered now and what we've already paid out, we're already behind that much money in those. We're going to have to look at moving some of these other columns around to take care of that. We just have to keep a close eye on it, because this is where we expected our expenditures were going to come high, is with the costs of employees. 4,200, did that answer your question, Ms. Gibson?
Yes, I'm just doing some thinking about,
Okay,
okay.
all righty. 4,200, those are your entitlement grants that come from the department, your Title 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9s. You have $465,000 in revenue so far, $762,000 in expenses. At the time this was done, you had some pending expenses waiting for reimbursement. Those have been filed but have not been received yet. This fund should be pretty flat as far as money going out, money taken in. You won't have any fund balance in the 4,200s. The next fund is your 4430. This is your first part of ESSER 2, which if you will look in the top under the revenues, you will see that all of those grant projects are closed. What we're doing now is just liquidating, so you had 64,000 in revenues, 64,000 in expenses. That's pretty much closing itself out. Next year, you won't see this fund in here at all. 4440, that's the smaller part of ESSER 2. Again, you're looking at projects that have been closed as of September 30th, 2024. 2023, I'm sorry. You've got 78,000 coming in, 78,000 going out. Pretty much a wash while we liquidate that project. The next two projects are your ESSER 3, which is your American Rescue Plan. We have in the 4450, which is the big part of ESSER 3, which is ARP. We have 724,000 in revenue and 777,000 in expenses. Again, waiting on some reimbursement to come back. Another flat fund, you won't have fund balance in there. And the last project, 4460, which is ARP. Again, the smaller pieces of ARP. You have a couple of those that were closed, two of the IDEAs closed in September, but the rest of them are open. You've got 207,000 in revenues and 227 in expenses. Another flat account, money in and out, awaiting reimbursement. Questions?
That's the last one,
That's the last
and it
piece
goes
of
out in,
September 30th, 2024. Both 4450 and 4460 will go out completely in September 30th, 2024.
Rose, I don't know if I don't have my paper in front of me right now, and this was discussed at the consolidation meeting last week. The $900,000
For
deficit.
the
Does that
900,
mention 900,000?
I don't remember that, but it's possible, I just don't remember
Oh,
that.
okay.
When
Well,
we go into this school year, because of all of the dollars that they moved out of categorical,
Mm-hmm.
and we still have those responsibilities, if you remember in the budget workshop, we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like about $1,700,000 that we're gonna be behind, that we have
Mm-hmm.
to have, would have been made up in the top, in the base allocation, but was not. So we're gonna have to anticipate those dollars going out from obligations that we have based on the underfunded and unfunded mandates that we have that remove the categoricals.
Okay, when I make the statement, about 80% of our monies is spent on employees.
75 to 80, that's
Yes.
correct?
And I think we have to get really serious about this. I think that we have to possibly have hiring freeze right now. I mean, we're not going to vote on it right now, but this is my thoughts. You're painting a very gloomy picture here. We know what's ahead of us. In order to keep our schools viable, we cannot keep hiring people, overstaffing schools. Something has to be done. And I think that it's probably the superintendent can come up with a plan for that.
There's going to be a balance between what are critical positions. Like, you have some critical positions that have to be filled, like some of your
yes.
teachers that are
Yeah,
missing.
well,
like the high
instructional
school
and
talked about that.
paraprofessionals, we wouldn't want to touch that because it's all about the children. I'm talking about other positions.
And not being from HR, I think I'm going to defer to the superintendent and to Mr. Killingsworth, because I don't handle the hiring
Yes,
and
right.
that.
Ms. Gibson, we can have a workshop on that and discuss
Well, I
that.
think we have to have a workshop on
Yes,
that
ma'am.
and talk about this very seriously. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's been asked once before for a breakdown of the, and I believe we do have that, of where our expenditures are and broken down for
We do.
instructional and non-instructional. We did receive that.
Thank you,
Yes,
Ms.
no,
Rose,
I
for
know-
that
I know.
report. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
well, no, yeah, but that doesn't say where it's going to be cut. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know, that's I said.
Okay.
Yep.
Item
you.
5.5, staff and allocation plan. Superintendent Joseph.
We need to
Okay.
vote on it, right? Are we approving the budget?
Oh, do you?
The financial report.
Yes.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we approve the financial report. Any other discussions? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Becky. Mrs. Joseph.
Okay, our staff and allocation plans, we have no adjustments, but I do keep this in front of you to let you know that we are operating according to the approved staff and allocation plan. We have no adjustments at this time.
But this plan is only until the end of the school year.
It's an
Yes.
annual, it's a plan, annual plan that the board approves.
Right, till the end of the school year, right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, other items of interest. Superintendent Joseph.
Okay, I've got a few things for you. I'd like to let you know that the McPhee, the foundation did distribute the checks to all employees today. And if the person was employed as an employee, not as a substitute with our district, as of August 30th, they were able to go by their, talk with the bookkeeper and get the check. And no, they had to pick it up themselves. Okay, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Brooks and Ms. Coach Harris and the football team. They are going to state. They are going to participate in the Class 1R state playoffs, and they're going to be playing Hawthorne High School. The game will be Thursday night, December 7th at 8 p.m. We will have class on Friday as stay. Okay, there's no excuse absent unless their parents write them a note that they were sick and can document whatever normal rules. The game will be at FAMU's campus on Ken Riley's Field at Bragg Memorial Stadium on the highest of the 7 hills. I think they've got something on their website. I know Ms. Griffin sent out something today. The tickets are available online. And we're also going to be posting something on our website. They've got a clear bag and different policies, different things about what they can bring into the stadium. And so, okay, it's on Facebook also. One other thing, because this game is going to be on December 7th, our state of the school meeting was scheduled for Pinetta on that day. We're going to need to reschedule Pinetta. Next week, we've got a meeting scheduled for Monday and Tuesday. I was going to suggest that Thursday, but Ms. Davis says Thursday is out for her, so I need a date, possible date for.
Well, Thursday's the Madison County High School Christmas band concert, so that would be completely unavailable. How about January 8th and 9th? 8th or 9th?
What's the board?
How-
Okay, at our previous meeting, it was mentioned that people go to Bible, y'all go to Bible study on Wednesday night, so that's why we were shying away from Wednesday night.
Well, I think we want to make the dates accessible to the community. A majority of the community does attend church on Wednesday night, so I think we would not be doing a service to the parents or the students to hold it on a night that a lot may not be available.
I think the 8th and 9th is a Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, that is a Monday and Tuesday. I apologize, I was looking in the wrong month. So that's the board decision, which day do you want? And
I could go either way.
it don't matter to me.
somebody needs to have.
Let's just say the 8th.
Maybe on a Monday, since there's,
I'll say
the
the
8th.
8th, then if something comes up, we can have.
Well,
the
I would
9th
just
fall
make
down.
sure that that date works for
it
the
does.
principal.
I'm going to,
Yes.
I need to have a specific date to carry it
Yes.
to her, and I'll get back with you, letting you know whether it's Bible or not.
The 8th is good for me.
Me too.
I'm okay with you.
I'm okay with this.
Okay. Also, from that meeting that we had in Lee, my handwritten questions that I've received, we're putting together FAQ on that. And someone have sent you some information of some of the questions that have been asked. I know the trend data, did all of y'all get that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, but I am putting that document together. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mr. Reeves?
No, ma'am. Not unless y'all have questions for me.
No. I would like to thank those Cowboys, those fellas on the field who made it possible for us to go to the championship, along with Mr. Brooks and Mr. Harris. Those fellas played their hearts out, and it was made possible through them. I would also like to give a shout out to Mr. Jason McDaniel. He had some surgery. He was one of our main players, and he's out until the next season. Mr. Jason McDaniel, shout out from your TT.
Yes, I'd like to remind, I've discussed this with Mrs. Joseph, that we meet on the first and third Monday of each month. Tonight, I won't mention the school or what the activity, but there's something going on tonight at 6 o'clock, and I try my hardest to attend everything under the sun, and I don't miss too much. But because of that being scheduled for tonight at 6 o'clock, unless...
You're correct. Okay.
You know, so just to remind the, principals that we are interested in attending, and I'm just disappointed in that.
Because when they
But
schedule
Miss,
these events,
I need you to understand that I have discussed this with the principal, but you need to understand this time of year, they've got basketball, soccer, girls, they got everything going on, and it's just a they're doing their best to keep these days. And so they did look into this, and that was just the only possible time.
Well, just as long as they're reminded, I'm satisfied. Okay, I enjoyed and I'm thankful to be able to attend the Florida School Board Association conference this past week. We had 3 full days of learning, and it was I'm thankful to be able to do this. I'd like to congratulate the Madison County Cowboys on their win, and I look forward to another win on Thursday night. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our resource officer who's with us tonight, which I'm not sure, I think he's probably out in the outer office. We appreciate the Madison County Sheriff's Department for what they do each and every day. And I'll look forward to the meeting. Now, I want to clarify something, Mr. Reeves. On November 6th, we talked about the meetings, the town hall meetings, and you mentioned specifically what to call the meetings. And I went back and listened to it 2 or 3 times, and you mentioned consolidation. So that was the assumption that we all gathered together, and we're going into the community to get the feedback from the people. So I'm just, unless that has changed, that was the assumption that I was under. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, my advice was that it was let me say it this way, it was my understanding that the point of the meeting was for you all to make your decision on whether or not you wish to consolidate the schools. That is a policy decision that the school board makes. You make it by majority vote. That is, you are legally allowed to keep the schools the way they are. You are legally allowed to consolidate them. That's a policy decision that you all need to make. But you want to have town hall meetings. You want to have meetings where the public knows that you all are considering that, where they can come in and give you their thoughts and their opinions on it. Sometimes when you're noticing those meetings, the temptation is to try to make the meetings seem a little more innocuous and, that type of thing. And I don't think that's in your best interest. I think it's in your best interest to call them to say very plainly, the school board is considering consolidation. Whether you are for or against, please show up and express your
Right. I mean, that
opinions.
word transparency gets thrown around here and there, but I always, of course, I grew up with the phrase, put it on the table.
Right.
In other words,
something of that
put everything on the
importance and
table.
significance, the truth needs to be told.
Yeah. And the other reason was, no matter what y'all decide, somebody's going to be mad. And there's no decision y'all are going to make, it's not going to make somebody mad. At least don't let them complain that they weren't given the opportunity to come talk.
Well, that
give you their
goes
opinion.
with I think we've made people mad, or I have,
Absolutely.
I'll say I have, okay. And I think that's all I had. Yes. Thank you, Madison County High School, for coming, and all the people that came to speak to us tonight. We appreciate that. Okay.
Next person,
Okay.
doesn't matter who it is.
I just want to address the recent rumors circulating in the community. Despite the chatter, I just want to reiterate that there has not been a decision made or anything finalized as it goes to the consolidation of the schools. Okay, we are considering all budget options, and these meetings are to consider the parent feedback in consolidation. And I don't care what it's called. I encourage you to come. I encourage you to be a voice. You can reach out to us one-on-one. You can come to the meetings. You can email us. We're all available to you. Okay, so I just want to make it perfectly clear that we want your feedback so that we can take that feedback along with the financial reports and all of the information that we're gathering to make the decision that's best for the district as a whole. It's not going to be an easy decision no matter what we do, okay? On a positive note, I just want to say I also attended the school board conference this year in Tampa. I look forward to looking into some of the programs that we were able to experience there. There were some great classes that I think would benefit some of the kids in our district, especially our ESE students. I also want to congratulate our Cowboys and all of the coaching staff and the administration and everybody who's been behind our football team this season. It is great to see them have a turnaround and have a great season. It was a rough year for them last year, so to send our seniors out, 'cause we have a lot of them, on such a positive note, I am very excited for them on that. I want to extend a heartfelt congratulations to all of our outstanding school-related employees of the year, with a special congratulations and acknowledgement to Ms. Brandy Siplin for becoming our school-related employee of the year for the district. I also want to just comment on the remarkable lunch that we were provided by Ms. Mona and her culinary program. Not only did they make us a fabulous lunch, they served it very professionally. And it is always a pleasure to see some of our programs at work, and just to see how proud the students are to be able to participate in those. I also want to thank our admins for being here today. We know how hard you work. We know how much you're pouring into our kids. We can't thank you enough. And to the parents that are present here this evening and our constituents and community members, it's always great to see you here. I encourage more people to come and just be a part of the decisions that are being made in the district. Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. First, let me extend a heartfelt congratulations to the Madison County Cowboys for their remarkable win, securing a well-deserved spot in the upcoming state championship game in Tallahassee this coming Thursday. I encourage all of you to join and support the Cowboys if you can and attend. Let me also say congratulations to our school-related employee of the year, Ms. Brandy Siplin, for the district, and all of our other school-related employees of the year. I really enjoyed celebrating you last week. Turning my attention to other important matters following the town hall meeting on November 27th at Lee Elementary School, I've taken the time to reflect on the concerns raised. My commitment to open communication stands strong, and my phone is always on, and I welcome conversations, calls, or face-to-face meetings with constituents from all corners of Madison County. I want to clarify that while I represent District 5, my dedication extends to every student in this county. Every decision I make is founded on the education and well-being of every student. Addressing the elephant in the room, let's change the way we approach challenges. Transparency is crucial. It's time to explore creative avenues for the betterment of our education system. This is no easy task, and I acknowledge the weight of the decisions at hand. I won't rush any decision. Rather, I'm committed to being informed and educated on every possible outcome. Moreover, I emphasize the need for creativity and the need to explore alternative avenues to enhance our education system without settling for the bare minimum for our children. Our students deserve the very best, and together, let's work to provide them with an outstanding education. The way I see it is I have two choices. I can accept the conditions that currently exist, or I can accept the responsibility to change them. My challenge for everyone within the sound of my voice is this: let's lock arms as a community and work together for the betterment of the students of the Madison County School District. We praise our student athletes and the achievements of our students in clubs and CTE programs. We praise their dedication to teamwork and the accomplishments that follow as a result. Let's do the same. Thank you.
In order to save time, I did whatever all they said. Everything they said, I'm with it.
Thank you. Move for adjournment.
We're glad you agree with us.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
Thank you.